Back from the kitchen so soon, Al?
And where are your snacks, Al? I was hoping you'd pick me up a little something to nibble on, too.
Well, bad news, gang. Mickey's house is completely devoid of a kitchen.
Come on, Al. What house doesn't have a kitchen?
Well, Freddy, apparently Mickey's house. I searched every inch of this place and didn't find any signs of a kitchen. It was devastating.
How strange is that? Mickey must eat out a lot, I guess.
Or visit somebody else's kitchen here in the neighborhood, I suppose.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves yet, Freddy. But like I said, in all my searching for a means to stifle this unending hunger, I searched high and low for that kitchen. And in that search, I may not have come up with a snack, but I did get a chance to explore the entirety of this house, and it was absolutely gobsmacking. I found an insane narrative that's being shared within the walls of this house.
Really?
What's the story, Al?
Okay, so from my searching, I've deduced that Imagineers have helped Mickey build this house into a chronological telling of the story of Mickey Mouse's life, legacy, and relationship with Walt and his park here in Anaheim.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's see if this little theory of yours holds water.
Yeah, lead the way through this journey through time, Al.
Ooh, well, to get to the full story, we have to remember that this first room we're in has the Steamboat Willie ship in a bottle.
Oh yeah, like we learned in the last episode.
Yeah, and the radio presentation taught me a ton about the beginnings of Mickey Mouse as well.
No doubt, Ann. But as we all know, the story doesn't end there.
No siree.
So let's head into the next room and take a look at the next phase in Mickey's life and career, shall we?
Let's do it.
Guys, take a look over in this cabinet. It's a picture with Walt and a plush Mickey Mouse.
Okay, Al, I'm already starting to see your theory is becoming a law.
Because of a picture of Walt with a plush Mickey?
Well, actually, yeah. You see, Annie, after Steamboat Willie gained some traction, there was a huge demand for the little fella. And Walt, being the genius visionary he wasn't going to pass up on the opportunity to strike while the iron was hot. He wanted to diversify his mouse and Mickey's offerings, and what better way to do that than to bring him into the real world through merchandising.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, keep in mind, this wasn't Walt's first brush with merchandising. No, his first step into merchandising came with the success of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
Like we heard about in the radio production, right?
One and the same. With the massive success of Oswald, Walt capitalized on that success by teaming up with a group to create Oswald-themed merchandise. The first merchandise to be put out by Walt and the gang featured Oswald as a button, and then there was a stencil set and a chocolate-coated marshmallow in the likeness of the little Lucky Rabbit. But as we remember from the radio performance, Walt sadly lost all rights to the use of Oswald in the late 20s. But as we've seen over and over throughout this park, Walt never let a good idea go, and merchandising was truly a great idea. So then, with the success of Mickey Mouse, Walt was again faced with the prospect of merchandising opportunities. But it wasn't until a chance meeting in a hotel lobby back in 1929 that the merchandising of Mickey Mouse truly took off.
A hotel lobby?
Indeed. You see, Walt was visiting New York in the late 20s, not the 2020s, folks, the 1920s, and happened to run into a now unknown man who approached Walt and inquired about the possibility of acquiring rights to the Mickey Mouse character so that he could place it on a tablet.
Come on, an iPad? Come on, Freddy, we know those things didn't come around until the 2000s.
Haha, very funny. Annie, listen. This little writing tablet would be used for jotting down notes, creating doodles, or housing the deepest secrets of Midwest kids as a diary. And this guy who approached Walt wasn't asking for the rights without compensation. No, the man offered Walt a hefty sum of, get this, $300, which was a ton of money at the time, to use the likeness of Mickey and sell these tablets of paper. Walt and Roy, always hurting for cash, accepted the offer, and with it, they rekindled Walt's merchandising ideas from the Oswald era. So, thankfully, this wasn't the only offer for licensing given to Walt and Roy for the use of this unstoppable little mouse. The first merchandising contract that Walt and Roy signed, though, was with George Borgfeldt and Company. don't worry about my pronunciation. We'll get there. By signing with Walt, the New York-based company was allowed to manufacture and sell quote-unquote figures and toys of various materials embodying design of comic mice known as Minnie and Mickey Mouse, appearing in copyrighted motion pictures, unquote. The deal that Walt and Roy set up with the manufacturer was to take 2.5% of royalties from smaller items that cost 50 cents or less, and 5% for merchandise of a higher price.
You know, and the deals didn't stop there, Annie. Walt had Mickey appear in comic strips for newspapers as well. From these shrewd business moves, Walt and his brother Roy were bringing money in, now not just from ticket sales, but from the merchandising deals as well.
Gosh, that's incredible. Looking at the plush in that photo, it's really good quality, too.
Very good eye, Annie. You know, one of the top requirements that Walt had from any deal he made was that all products with Mickey's likeness be of the highest quality so as to protect the colossal brand that Walt was in the process of creating. And the man to help deliver this high-quality merchandise to the masses was a man named Herman Kamen, an advertising exec from Walt's old stomping grounds back in Kansas City. Kamen had the desire to put a Disney character in every American home. A mighty large task, but one that Walt could definitely get behind.
I'm sure he could.
Oh, gosh, yes. And how? And on July 1st, 1932, the Disney brothers signed a deal with Kamen, and the merchandising ball began rolling. Mickey and Minnie could be found in department stores across the U.S., adorning things such as wallpaper, books, napkins, phonographs, clothing, hairbrushes, toys, and pretty much everything else under the sun.
I just read recently that the Mickey Mouse plush, that it's probably that same one in the picture at least, was merchandised as a pattern that kids could and parents could buy and sew their own Mickey Mouse.
Their own? Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
A DIY
How cool
Mickey.
That would be
is that?
so fun.
Man,
Well,
that is awesome.
Yeah, they were pretty cool back then. Everybody had their own little Singer sewing machine in the house. Well, it wasn't until 1933 that the Mickey merchandising truly began to take off.
Okay, so what happened in 1933 then?
Watches.
Watches do what?
Watches tell time, and they do much more happily when Mickey is helping tell time. In 1933, Kamen struck a deal for Mickey Mouse-themed watches to be made. This partnership was with the company called Ingersoll Waterbury, a company fledgling on the edge of bankruptcy at the time, and the partnership proved to be incredibly lucrative. The company went from the brink of financial ruin to growing their workforce by 900% just a few weeks later. Needless to say, Mickey Mouse's face on a watch was a massive success, and it was this success that paved the financial way for Walt and Roy to be able to start work on their monumental project, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
So, one thing that I want to do before we move forward from this, guys, is I want us to talk about the merchandising around us here in the park, because holy mackerel, it is everywhere. And I think that there are few things as divisive as Disney merchandise. There's a lot of people who are in the camp of give me every single thing that Disney can put out. And then there are people in the camp that are like, if this was true art, it wouldn't be on a backpack and it wouldn't be on a travel tote, so on and so forth. I mean, what do you guys think? What camp do you fall in? Or do you fall somewhere in between?
Well, they always make fun of Disney rides because they're so smart. They make you exit through the gift shop.
Yes.
And it does leave a bad taste in your mouth if you're paying attention. But I gotta tell you, the gift shop at the exit to the Jungle Cruise was the one place I just wanted to be after every time I rode that ride when I was a kid.
I wanted a pickle.
Smell those rubber snakes and all that. But, you know, when you can take home that little guy, that little Mickey Mouse in some way or another, I think it's... are we capitalists or not? Do we want people to make money off of good ideas? And then do we want to give money for things that we'd love to have? I think it's fun. I think it's a great way for people to bring the magic home.
Annie, what do you think?
I think I fall a little somewhere in between, although I probably lean more toward enjoying the merchandise. Mm-hmm. I think being able to take home your experience is wonderful, and so you do that through a souvenir. Souvenir actually in French is like, I think it means memory. So it's you're taking home a memory. They do put the gift shops conveniently at the end of a ride, but that's because where else would you put it? Like it kind of filters you into a little bit more of that world, and otherwise you might not be able to find it, or it like, to me it makes sense. I don't think it's extremely strategic, although it's probably a little strategic.
Well, and Annie, you were lost back in time when we had talked about this. Oh wait, no, you weren't lost back in time yet at this point. But if you remember during the "It's a Small World" conversation that we had, that was the first time that they ever had a gift shop at the exit of an attraction.
Right. So yeah.
They began the tradition, technically. And one thing that I'll say is I feel like the majority of them are really seamless and complementary to the attraction. It doesn't feel like there's this odd juxtaposition of attraction and then merchandising. And I will argue, I know that we're going outside of the walls of Disneyland Park with this, but I think the two places that do this by far the best, or I should say the one place that does this the best in all of California's two parks is, well, it used to be the Tower of Terror. The Tower of Terror had a great exit out into this lobby area where you could buy all of your Tower of Terror merchandise. And I thought it was one of the greatest ways that you could ever connect those two. I think that the one ride that does it in such a way that it is just forced and kind of hurts my tum-tum a little bit is Toy Story Mania. Midway Mania.
Okay. I was going to say Space Mountain also gets me a little eh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ending in the photo booth thing.
Are you thinking Star Tours, Annie?
Oh, Star Tours.
Maybe I'm thinking of Star Tours. I think all the there's not as much warmth in the Tomorrowland gift shops.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. That's really what it is. It's not as much warmth.
It's a little overwhelming, too. They've got like 12,000 tchotchkes on every single aisle. And so I'm just kind of like, overload. But I tend to be on the camp that I'm like, this is also, Freddie, I think that you hit the nail on the head there by saying that it's a way to bring Disneyland home with you. And I think that that's something that is priceless. And I think that there's going to be even critics of that who are like, well, you can bring it home in memories or whatever. But there's something to be said about that tangible, tactile memory that you were creating when you got that piece or whatever it was.
So here's two extremes, right? The balloon on Main Street. Now, that is something that will be popped and ruined. The new ones are a lot more modern and they've got more life to them.
Yes.
But there's a possibility there's one toy that you could buy for your kid that has a great possibility of being broken within 5 or lost within 10 minutes. And they separated you from $3 to $9. I don't know how much they are now.
Oh, they're expensive, I think.
They're expensive. And they come out in just those right times when a kid would like it. Or the glow sticks, like the glow things that come out at a night parade. Like, they know what they're doing. They're separating you from another 1650.
Yep.
And that is so that really feels.
Doesn't it add to the evening to see those balloons up?
It does.
Yeah.
But I there's those times when you feel like they really are just pulling it away from you. Now, the balloon adds, it's so much, but it is so temporary. Then think of something super memorable, that one thing that you had as a kid or whatever that took you took home and you held on to forever. I've read, visiting Walt Disney World's an entirely different animal, and there's lists on how to experience Walt Disney World, but one of the lists that they always have is how to keep the magic going is one of these lists. And one of the things that they said on that just rings so true to me is buy a coffee mug. and the coffee mug I take home, and every morning it's like I'm back at Disney World.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And so something that you can actually use or hold on to becomes it keeps the party going.
For me, it was always sweatshirts, I would get a sweatshirt and I'd wear it for at least a few years through the whole cold season. I loved the Nightmare Before Christmas sweatshirt I had. That was probably my all-time favorite. Everything that they made of Nightmare Before Christmas, just like, oh. And when I was really little, of course, it was Belle.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Anything with Princess Belle. And then some pirate stuff. I got a pirate sweatshirt one year that I also loved.
Mm-hmm.
So what are those? So, Annie, these sweatshirts stood out to you. What else stood out to you guys as far as merchandise that you bought and brought from the parks?
Well, I'll tell you one that it's crazy. This is nuts. But this goes back to probably...
You have to have bought it, Freddie. You can't have stolen it from the park.
No, I did not. Hey, I wouldn't do that. I'll talk to you later about something. Never mind. I didn't steal anything.
Wink, wink.
Wink. No, I didn't. Come on now. No, when I was maybe 6 years old, there's a shop that's still there. It's between the Matterhorn and Small World, sort of tucked into the little Matterhorn monorail sort of crossover. And I remember going up to that booth, and there were these little matchboxes. Seriously, the size of a small matchbox, the kind you could keep in your pocket. And you would push the matchbox in, the bottom in, and you would open up the top, and there'd be this little sleeping Disney character. It was, and he was in a onesie, like a baby onesie with footies, not a onesie, like jammies.
Yeah.
And so with little white footies and everything, and a rubber like PVC head. And there was Pinocchio. There was I don't know. There was Pooh. There was Mickey, Minnie. There was Donald. There might have been a Pinocchio. And I got a Donald, and I would put that thing. I'm 6 years old and I'm a boy, and I'm putting my little Donald Duck to bed every night. I'd close up his matchbox, right? But there was this time when I was really searching for that as a grown-up. I'm like, if I could find that, I think I might rekindle some of my own childhood, like, a sense of awe and wonder. And then I found them on eBay, and they're just so like shabby. I don't know why my memory built that up, but that thing was so special to me that I still remember buying it from that shop. I must have been 6 or
That's
7.
amazing. And that's what's so cool about this is so many people just poo-poo this stuff. They're like, just consumerism. But there is something like my son, the way to show my child love is through the giving of gifts. I mean, this kid, he's
love language.
Oh, he loved himself some toys. But it kind of goes deeper than just like, oh, I want. You can tell that he genuinely feels appreciated by you when you give him a toy. And there is something that's incredible when we go to Disneyland and he gets to choose a toy because he plays with it forever. And I mean, for like myself, one of the things that I will always remember is when I first started at Disney, I was flat broke. And my checks from Disney weren't helping that much. And I remember going down Main Street, and in the watch shop there, they were selling, and I don't know if they sell those currently at the recording of this walkthrough, but they were selling these Explorer Mickey watches, speaking of the watch conversation. Right. And being a fresh Jungle Cruise skipper, I was like, I want that Skipper Mickey Explorer watch so badly. But it was a cool $26. Ouch. And
like,
I remember...
That's a day's worth of...
Oh, exactly. That's a week's worth. But I remember walking by there when I was working on the parade route, and every single day I would walk by that watch shop and be like, is today the day that I'm going to buy it? No, I better be careful. I better hold off. And I remember it was a couple of weeks into my shifts that I was finally like, you know what? I got to surrender to the magic, and I gotta get that. And to this day, I have a little keepsake box. It's a little old cigar box that I keep all of my Disney memorabilia that was like directly from the Jungle Cruise. I've got all of my name tags. I've got a leaflet made out of leaves that somebody made for me because I made a horrible Jungle Cruise pun about asking for a leaflet on something, and a skipper named Kiki made it for me, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. So I still have that, and one of the things that I still have inside of there is my Mickey Mouse Explorer Skipper watch.
Wow.
And every time I open it up and look inside there, Jack's eyes light up, and he's like, Dad, that is so awesome. And
I got to see that.
So, yeah, I'll wear it next time we're in the park, friends.
Can you also send us a
next time
photo?
we're in the park, we're in the park. Oh, shoot. Broke the fourth wall. No, I'll try to post that for everybody on Instagram. I think they still sell them. I believe they still sell them. I could be wrong. But there are just so many different things that we can take. And Freddie, like I said, I don't think it can be summed up any better than the way that you said it, that we get to bring these home and take a piece of the park with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the you talking about that watch reminds me of a watch that I got, and it was a cast member only watch, and they're merchandising to the cast members, folks. So if you feel bad about being merchandised to as a guest, the cast members have their own store where they've made merchandise just for them. So willing to take the money that you've just earned. Not an evil empire, but when you see this,
the company store,
I will show you this watch someday. It was at the time that The Rocketeer came out in 1990 or so, and they had a whole company picnic based around the theme of The Rocketeer, but it was Goofy dressed as The Rocketeer, the Goofeteer, and I have a Goofeteer watch by Ingersoll, I'm pretty sure.
You have to wear your Goofeteer. I'll wear my Skipper Mickey, and we're just going to party next time at Adventureland Day.
We'll bring our treasures.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
Hey, guys, I got a watch, too.
Yeah?
Watch what I eat. So you're saying that the success of Snow White all started with a mouse? A plush mouse?
Exactly.
Okay. I mean, that's amazing. Al, I'm starting to see that this theory is holding quite a bit of weight.
And this isn't the only place where we see this chronology showing up. I mean, first we saw Steamboat Willie, 1928. Now we're seeing the merchandising in 1929. And then look above you on the mantelpiece there.
There's a bunch of sports memorabilia. Okay, kind of reminds me of the really stuffed closet at the front of the house.
Bingo! This is a reference to the early Mickey Mouse shorts. Now, I believe that this one is actually a reference to a short film released in 1932 entitled Touchdown Mickey, a short featuring the mouse as a master of the pigskin.
Yeah, that reminds me, too, of Goofy's house, loaded up with sports memorabilia based on his own cartoon shorts. Guys, check this out. Look at the piano.
Oh, cool. It's a Mouseway player piano. Man, I wish player pianos were still as popular today as they were decades ago. What a fun and unique technology.
I know, and this one, it's a little different than the normal player piano.
Yeah? How so?
Indeed, it's a traditional, in traditional piano players, the scrolls are used to create the sounds. There's sounds with little slots in the paper. Those little slots in the paper go over a reader, and they allow the player in the piano to know what notes to strike. But on this player piano roll, instead of little slots, the holes are shaped like little Mickey heads.
Oh, hey, look right there.
Oh, where?
On the roll, all the shapes are Mickey heads except that one right there. That one is in the shape of a Goofy head.
Oh, Annie, have you discovered the first incident of a hidden Goofy in the park?
Oh, but guys, listen to the song that the piano's playing.
Hey, I know that song. That's the theme song to the Mickey Mouse Club, right?
Ah, what a great tune.
The Mickey Mouse Club was so much fun. If I remember correctly, it originally ran from 1955 to 1959, right?
Oh, that's right. And this song we're listening to was written by the show's original adult host, that super handsome, super nice, super fun for the kids, Jimmy Dodd.
This song is so catchy.
A hit show deserves a catchy song.
It really does, Freddie, and it's important to remember, though, that Mickey Mouse Club wasn't Walt's first soiree into television.
No?
Nope. Walt was actually a pioneer in the new medium of TV. And believe it or not, if it weren't for television, Walt would never have been able to create Disneyland in the first place.
Oh, dish the details, Al.
Settle in, Andrea. So back in the early planning phases of Disneyland, Walt came up against a very big problem.
Oh, yes. The PVC color coding requirement changes made to Article 912, Section 2 of the International Plumbers Code.
What?
Whoa. Not exactly, Annie. And that was wildly specific. No, Annie. No. That was... the problem was actually funding.
Oh, well, I was close, though.
I'll give you an A for effort, friend. Now, this lack of funding wasn't anything new for Walt and the gang. In fact,
no kidding.
It may come as a surprise for some to hear that the studio spent more time struggling financially than it did basking in the red. And when Walt pitched the idea of a theme park to his brother and business partner Roy, he groaned because all he saw all over the project was dollar signs. And for a company who continually struggled financially, deeper financial burdens were the last thing that a money manager like Roy wanted to see. But Walt had an idea. Television. Now hear me out. Walt, being a serial innovator, saw the potential in television long before many other larger organizations did. He saw it as a medium to be heralded instead of one to fear and resist. As many of the other large studios girded themselves to fight against the coming onslaught of TV and the negative impacts they feared it would have on their studios, Walt instead embraced the medium as a means to advertise his projects and bring in the needed revenue for his new park.
But listen, Walt had grown wise and cautious over the years and didn't really want to jump into a new medium like television if it didn't produce his desired outcome of generating additional funding for his park. So, Walt called upon a third-party team to look into the viability of television. Now, when this group gave the go-ahead, Walt began to test the medium. He started in 1950 by producing 1 Hour in Wonderland, a special program devoted to advertising for the upcoming Alice in Wonderland film. Now, for that program, Walt looked high and low for a host for the show that was fit for the Disney brand, but he was never able to truly find someone. Then one day, someone suggested that Walt himself should host the special. Now, Walt never fancied himself an actor and was very hesitant to say yes, but eventually he did, as a result of lack of options, and it worked in his favor, as it forever solidified in the public's eye a vision of him as Uncle Walt.
After the success of 1 Hour in Wonderland and a few other specials, Walt decided that television was a great medium for the Disney brand. Instead of just producing specials, though, Walt saw value in appearing in American living rooms on a weekly basis. This weekly visit from Uncle Walt would allow him to share his vision for his new park and get people excited for it to open. He approached all 3 major TV networks at the time, with CBS and NBC initially turning him down. But when Walt approached the executives at the failing ABC network, they were intrigued with hosting the show. After long and hard negotiations, Walt found a home for Disneyland, his new television series.
Walt also found one of his major investors in the park with ABC as well.
Okay, wait. So they wanted their network to run the Disney TV show, and they wanted to invest in Walt Disney's risky park idea?
Well, not exactly. ABC was originally very skeptical in getting involved with a theme park, of course. It wasn't really on brand for a TV network to get into themed entertainment business. That really doesn't exist at the time. But as one of the stipulations of running Walt's television series, Walt required that the network invest in the park in return for bringing the solid Disney brand to their station, as well as a 35% ownership in the park.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine owning 35% of Disneyland?
I dream about it every night.
Wake up, Al.
Sure you do.
Wake up.
Sorry.
On October 27th, 1954, ABC premiered the first episode of Walt Disney's Disneyland, entitled The Disneyland Story. This series and partnership with ABC provided the buzz and the finances to open the park we know and love today. So, without TV,
We wouldn't have Disneyland.
correctamundo.
Over the years, Walt would tweak his television offerings, the Mickey Mouse Club being one of them.
Yeah, that show was really a massive hit. It was a star maker through and through, but the one star who always seemed to shine the brightest on the Mickey Mouse Club was
Justin
Annette
Timberlake.
Funicello.
Funicello.
I mean,
Really, Annie?
I didn't say that. No, what? Okay, guys, he's a force to be reckoned with. He can sing, he can dance.
Wrong
he
Mickey
can
Mouse
act,
Club.
He looks great. He's a triple threat of NSYNC awesomeness. I was totally an NSYNCer back in the day, and that's not even a lie.
Okay, I won't argue with you about JT's skills. After all, he was in a later Mickey Mouse Club. But listen, Annette Funicello really was the one who paved the way for the incredible young stars that would come after her. She herself was a force of talent to be reckoned with, and pretty much America's golden girl for many, many years. I can't believe you said Justin Timberlake.
You're right. You're right, Freddie. Annette was a powerful force back in the day. Oh, how the 1950s dudes would swoon when Annette would come on screen.
I gotta say that Walt really did have an eye for talent. Can you believe that he discovered young Annette Funicello during a performance of Swan Lake where she held the role of the Swan Queen?
That's right. Walt saw something so special in her that he immediately signed her to a 7-year contract to work for the Disney studios. And during that time, she became a huge star. Not only could she sing, being known for hits like Tall Paul and Let's Get Together, yeah, 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 and Pineapple Princess, but she could act and sing.
Annie?
And dance.
And dance.
And
She could
dance.
sing, act, sing, and
She was a
dance.
great
She was a
dancer.
quadruple threat. I gotta say, Annie, that JT, he's good, but Annette Funicello was the original Mickey Mouse Club triple threat.
I am not. I don't care about original.
Fair
I
enough.
care about the best.
Oh,
fair
the
enough.
goat.
Fair
the
enough.
best.
All right.
All
JT's
right.
your goat.
Well, Funicello was so popular that at one point she was receiving 6,000 fan letters per month. Wow. 6,000 fan letters per month. You might have a lot of followers, but you don't get that many letters, let me tell you
Imagine
that.
getting, if you had 6,000 followers, imagine getting one letter from each of them every single month.
Holy smokes.
Oh yeah.
This popularity would eventually land her roles in additional Disney shows and serials, eventually landing a serial that she would star in and would feature her first name as the title.
She's one of those few stars that were so huge that she was able to be known by only her first name.
Cher.
There's not many of those.
Cher, Madonna.
Cher. Justin.
No.
That's
Just kidding.
Justin who? That's actually one of my life goals.
Oh.
I want to just be known as Alex. Like I want when people hear Alex, they just think of me. How do I achieve that goal?
Well, I'll take 500, Alex.
Shoot, I gotta beat Trebek.
You gotta beat Trebek.
Yeah, you gotta beat
Nobody's
Trebek.
gonna beat Trebek.
Good luck with that one, Al. As Funicello grew into a seasoned performer, her career blossomed as well, making her film debut in Disney's The Shaggy Dog. Love that movie. From there, she only continued to grow in popularity and continued to catch the eyes of many love-struck young men across the country. In fact, it's reported that pop sensation Paul Anka wrote his hit tune Puppy Love in honor of his crush on the sensational Funicello.
And no one can forget her roles in all those campy yet amazing beach party movies in the early 60s, where she would star alongside the old happy-go-lucky Frankie Avalon.
Frankie!
It was wonderful, Freddie. Those movies would actually go on to inspire what is, in my opinion, the GOAT of Disney Channel original films, Teen Beach Movie.
Oh my.
If y'all haven't seen it yet, have you guys seen this movie?
I have not seen
I
this
remember
movie.
seeing
Is it on
it.
Disney Plus?
I
It
don't
is
know
on
if it's
Disney Plus.
Is it on Disney
It's
Plus?
on Disney
Oh,
Plus.
good.
Don't watch the 2. Just watch the first one. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
it
telling you,
it was playing incessantly at the Disney store I worked at in the early 90s.
it was so good. Cruisin' for a Bruisin' is a great song. I mean, just go listen to the soundtrack alone. My son sings to Teen Beach Movie all the time. I gotta say, it's...
So is this like the original High School Musical?
No, it actually came out later. It came out in 2012. So, Freddie, I think you're thinking of a different movie.
Wait, Teen Beach Movie is a contemporary movie?
Yeah, it came out in 2012.
Oh, well, forget what I'm saying. There was another one that came out back then, but I won't confuse everybody with that.
Are you thinking maybe Meet the Deedles, which is another one of my favorites?
No, it was not Meet the Deedles.
Which I did watch. That was the first thing I watched on Disney Plus. Does not hold up. Sorry, does not hold up. But Teen Beach, it will go down in history. In fact, it is so popular that even my students in my high school to this day will battle over which one is better, High School Musical or Teen Beach Movie.
Go get them.
I am always TBM. I'm TBM for life.
Oh, it's TBM now.
Yeah, I just made that a thing.
I'm going to watch it. I finally have Disney Plus, you guys. Disney Plus. I heard Funicello cultivated a lush and diverse career with a body of work far outweighing many of her peers at the time.
That's
Later
true.
in life, Funicello was sadly diagnosed with MS and spent her last years raising money and awareness to fight this deadly disease. She really was a hero to a lot of sick people. At the age of 70, she would pass away from complications from her battle with MS, and that was in 2013.
Yep. After her passing, Bob Iger had this to say about her, which pretty much sums up all our thoughts about this wonderful performer. He said, quote, "Annette was and always will be a cherished member of the Disney family, synonymous with the word Mouseketeer and a true Disney legend. She will forever hold a place in our hearts as one of Walt Disney's brightest stars, delighting an entire generation of baby boomers with her jubilant personality and endless talent. Annette was well known for being as beautiful inside as she was on the outside, and she faced her physical challenges with dignity, bravery, and grace. All of us at Disney join with the family, friends, and fans around the world in celebrating her extraordinary life." Unquote.
That is an amazing quote from Bob Iger. It's just amazing to think of the impact that just one of the performers from the Mickey Mouse Club had on the world. And the crazy part is she's not an isolated case of talent that Walt wrangled for the Mickey Mouse Club.
No.
I honestly think that we could devote an entire podcast to following the cast of the Mickey Mouse Club and all of its iterations throughout the years. Ending on the capstone of JT.
Yeah, oh my, just for Annie's sake.
Yes, please.
But for the sake of this show, we should probably keep looking around Mickey Mouse's house. What do you say?
That's a great call, Freddie.
Oh, guys, okay, look at this photo above the piano. It's a still of Mickey playing a piano.
Oh, how meta. And very telling of Mickey's amazing ties with music throughout the years. From Mickey's first sounds whistled by himself in Steamboat Willie all the way to today, Mickey and music are pretty much go hand in hand.
Yeah, it's amazing just how much music has influenced the work of Walt Disney throughout the years, and his magnum opus of sorts has to be
Fantasia.
Teen Beach Movie.
Stop it.
Oh.
Fantasia. It's one of my
Fantasia.
favorites. Come on.
Yeah, it really is a true work of art in all senses of the word, Freddie and Al. Fantasia, okay? But believe it or not, Fantasia was an utter flop when it was released back in 1940.
That's shocking because it is so well loved today. Why do you think it flopped so hard?
Well, to be honest, the reason it bombed was kind of complicated. It was a mixture of the film being way too ahead of its time and the timing when it was released.
Break it down for us, Annie.
We are mere children at the feet of the Pied Piper.
Oh, gosh, creepy. Oh, creepy. Okay, anyway, the story of Fantasia starts with Walt Disney's perception as being a creator of only kids' content.
Which is absolutely not true.
Correct, not at all. But that's what the critics constantly accused Walt of back in the day. Walt always had a desire to be respected by the cinematic community at large and decided to show his true talent for visual storytelling by teaming up with the famed conductor-composer Leopold Stokowski to create one of Walt's most ambitious projects ever. Walt and Stokowski would work together to assemble a group of iconic classical musical pieces that Stokowski would conduct and Walt would set to visuals. As per usual with Walt, this project became epic in scale and scope. This project would also be one of the first times that Walt would play with the idea of continually building upon an already working project, much like we see here at Disneyland.
Ooh, details, Anne.
Okay, So, when Walt set out to create this new visual symphony, he envisioned that it would travel the country as an exclusive showcasing. Okay, much like a symphony tours the country nowadays with these individual pieces collected together. This segmented format would allow Walt to never be finished with the project. He envisioned that year after year he would team up with Stokowski to create new segments that would be added to the film, giving people a new experience every time they would visit the cinema, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Originally, the film would feature 8 segments, the most iconic and famous being The Sorcerer's Apprentice, starring our favorite Mouse as the bumbling sorcerer's assistant who gets a little big for his britches and eventually gets in way too far over his head with a group of unruly brooms.
Been there 5 times now. Honestly, that segment is one of the most legendary pieces of Disney animation in the history of the company. Mickey was made for this role.
Would you believe me if I told you that Mickey wasn't Walt's first choice for the role of the apprentice?
Nope. No, I wouldn't. I think it's just a lie, and I don't believe it.
Well, you gotta believe it. Believe it. The role was originally meant for Dopey from Snow White.
What?
I know, but due to last-minute changes, it was decided that the role would better be suited for Mouse of the Hour.
Yeah, if you look at the character design of Dopey and Mickey, you can see that the robe that Mickey's wearing and his struggles with keeping it off of from going over his hands, they really do resemble Dopey, but they made a great choice with that change, obviously. I mean, I can't imagine Phantasmic dun da 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 that being hosted by anybody else than Mickey Mouse.
Me either, Freddy. It just would definitely not be the same. But we also need to remember that this film wasn't just about visuals. Since this film was focused more on the soundscape than the visuals, Walt wouldn't settle for the subpar tinny speakers found in theaters during that era. Instead, Walt worked to create a cutting-edge, state-of-the-art sound system he dubbed Fantasound. This system would immerse audiences in the rich string arrangements, the bombastic brass pieces, and the raucous rhythm section.
I honestly felt like I was transported back to 1940, Freddy. That was beautiful. That sounds amazing, that system.
Yeah, it was revolutionary and expensive.
I can only imagine. If they had hired me, it sure would have been.
The man of 1,000 sounds.
Oh, gosh. It was so expensive, in fact, that only a few venues were able to install the system. To make matters worse, Fantasia's production costs were blasting off into the stratosphere as the project became more and more ambitious. On top of these production woes, a doofus by the name of Adolf Hitler was trying to take over Europe at this time as well. With production costs mounting and the European movie audiences choosing personal safety over going to the movies, Walt no doubt began to experience some uncertainty with the success of this film. But these things didn't stop Walt from sharing his visual symphony with the world. Nope, he marched forward, unthwarted.
And all that hard work paid off in the end, right, Anne?
Sadly, no.
Oh.
No. For many years, Fantasia would be considered one of Walt's flops. Yep. Audiences who went on to see a film like Snow White were turned off by the experimental nature of Fantasia. Critics panned it because many of Walt's visuals strayed so far from the original storylines of the musical pieces. Some didn't like how dark the film was. Others thought Walt wasn't bold enough and accused him of watering down the materials.
Man, he couldn't catch a break with viewers with this one.
For the most part, that's absolutely true. There were a few who really saw Walt's vision and praised the film, but overall poor reception most certainly halted any further additional segments to Fantasia. But over the years, after the initial vitriol subsided, Disney fans and critics alike have come to see the sheer genius of this project. The visuals are some of the most beautiful and ambitious pieces of animation to this very day.
You know, there's actually an episode of Walt Disney Presents, I believe, on Disney Plus right now that actually goes into the painting of a single sequence. I think they do a 2 or 4 second sequence from Fantasia, and if
fairies
you,
from Nutcracker Suite.
Yes, if you don't see this movie as a masterpiece, you need to watch the effort that the artists put into
every single frame.
Every single frame, creating this. It really is perfection. It is visual perfection. I personally argue that this film represents the best Disney animation of all time because of that attention to detail. Each one of the cells is an art piece. It causes me while I was watching it, it caused me low-grade anxiety thinking about how much work had to go into even 1 second of that film.
It really is worth watching this film multiple times. Once to enjoy the overall experience, once to analyze the images and the story choices, and once more to capture the beauty of the music. I know it's heady, I know it's a lot, but it is totally worth the endeavor. Each segment in Fantasia is a masterpiece on its own, no doubt.
I, without a doubt, see the value in doing something like that. But this need to watch the film multiple times to truly capture what's going on is generally reserved for the artsy art house films, not Disney movies.
Right.
And that, I think, is one of the reasons audiences didn't love this movie as much.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, Al. But in the end, it's good to remember that there's both entertainment and enlightenment to be had when watching this kind of wonderful artistic expression in cinematic history.
Here. You get it? Here.
Oh.
Because it's Fantasia. Here.
Listen.
Guys, I don't want to sound like an oboe playing a Phrygian scale during polka here, but we've kind of been standing by this here piano for a very, very long time. So don't you think we should keep exploring Mickey's house while we still have time?
Good idea.
That's a great idea, Annie. Once you get me talking about music, it's hard for me to give it a rest.
A rest. I agree. This topic really strikes a chord with me to a scale that really can't be beat.
Freddie, I think what you just said was key. But on another note, I think we may find ourselves in trouble with our listeners if we don't have some movement soon.
Point well taken, Al. Your tone is one of...
You guys, we get it. Your music puns are sharp, but they're starting to fall flat. Okay.
Hey-oh.
Oh, man. Annie, there is no better way to finish a pun battle than that. All right, guys, let's head on to the laundry room.
Wait, Al.
What is it, Freddie?
There's a TV on over there playing some Mickey Mouse cartoons.
I don't know about you guys, but we have covered a ton of history and Disney culture so far in this room. I could use a little bit of downtime, and nothing sounds better than taking a load off and zoning out in front of the boob tube with a few Mickey shorts. What do you say, guys?
Well, I'm game. We do still have some time before our scheduled time to meet with Mickey anyways.
Sounds like a plan to me.
All right, let's do it. Oh, wait, guys. We almost forgot our outro. Folks, thanks so much for joining us on part 2 of a 3-part series exploring the rich history of Mickey's house. If you enjoyed this episode of The Backside of Water, please feel free to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts so you are one of the first listeners to get our upcoming episodes. You can also find us on Spotify, Stitcher, and anywhere else fine podcasts are procured.
Indeed. You can also leave us a friendly review over on Apple Podcasts while you're at it. Those reviews help us out so much, and we really appreciate you taking the time to write them. We read every one of them, too.
Oh, and don't forget the socials. You can get regular updates and follow along with our exploratory antics over on Instagram and Facebook by simply searching The Backside of Water Podcast. You can also follow Annie and Freddie individually as well because they provide visual excitement on Instagram and Twitter. Annie can be found at Annie Ruygt, Ruygt, craziest last name with the funniest pronunciation. I will always love that. And Freddie can be found at Skipper Freddie.
Now, as you exit, watch your head and watch your step.
And if you happen to miss your step
And hit your head,
please watch your language.